Will and Holly Marshall, as the earth beneath them trembled,
Lost their father through the door of time.
Uncle Jack was searching and found the kids at last, looking for a way to escape from the land of the lost, from the land of the lost. And then Grumpy the Dinosaur goes, roar.
I would like to bring them out with a song, because there was a song at the beginning of the show, and I'd like us all to sing it, but I'm having some trouble remembering the exact words. You know what would be great? What would be really great is the guy who actually sang the song. If he could help me, that would be really, really cool. I don't know. What do you think? It's Wesley Eure and Kathy Coleman.
How you doing, guys?
So, you sang the song.
I sang the song?
That made the whole world sing.
And he lets us know it.
Let's lead everybody in that song.
You guys know the lyrics?
You guys ready?
Are you ready? Here we go. Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known. High on the rapids, it struck their tiny raft. And plunged them down 1,000 feet below to the land of the lost. To the land of the lost. And then Grumpy the Dinosaur goes, roar.
Awesome. But you know, we have a special treat as well, because there was a writer on the show that's actually also a guest here. Please put your hands together for Mr. David Gerrold.
Yeah. We owe everything that Land of the Lost is to David Gerrold. It was David Gerrold's genius that made Land of the Lost a science fiction show. It was going to be like a Swiss Family Robinson, and David came on board. He'd written Trouble with Tribbles for Star Trek. And he brought all of his pals, sci-fi writers, and that's why Land of the Lost became the sci-fi hit it was.
All the favorite things that you love about the show are all because they came out of his wild thinking mind.
Thank you. Wesley, have you finished singing?
Yeah.
Yes. I finished
But he
singing.
could start back
Thank you.
up
I can
at
put
any
these back
given
in now.
moment.
Oh, he's such a bitch. He's putting his hearing aids back in because I finished singing.
All right, now you can talk.
Okay, David.
Though I do want to ask a question about that song, because there's a couple parts of it that I'm curious about. It was a routine expedition. My father never took me on a routine expedition like that. Did they ever explain what that routine expedition was?
No, we never did.
He was a forest
Actually,
ranger.
I had started to put together a book, which I will finish at some time, with all of the scripts that I wrote and Larry Niven and I wrote together, and it's called A Routine Exposition. In which I get to talk about how much fun it was to create the show and then invite in so many good writers, Norman Spinrad, Larry Niven, Dorothy Fontana, of course, Weena Sturgeon, Ben Bova, and the late, great Dick Morgan, who had worked on one of my favorite TV shows, Space Patrol. And my agent called and said, would you consider Dick Morgan? I said, what's he doing? Space Patrol. Space Patrol, get him right in here. So,
And Walter Koenig.
And Walter Koenig, yes. Walter had wanted to do more writing, and he called me and says, I hear you're doing Land of the Lost. I says, come on in. And he created the character Veenik. So Walter had a great influence on the show.
So just a quick story about Walter. Kathy and I do the Star Trek convention, the big one, at the Rio Hotel in Vegas every year. In fact, it's our 12th year. And we've been the only show other than Star Trek that's allowed there because of David Gerrold, our contact, and Mike Westmore, who did all the monsters for us. So Walter came up to our table one year. He's got his fedora hat on. He's shuffling a bit these days. And he goes, damn Sid Marty Krofft. Damn Sid Marty Krofft. I should have gotten residuals for Enoch. I should have gotten residuals.
Well,
So
the Writers Guild contract at the time didn't have any coverage for any of that stuff.
Well, I told Sid Croft this recently, because Sid's 96 and he's still doing shows with us. And we're doing one in Raleigh coming up. But I said, Sid, this is what Walter said. He goes, we're too cheap.
Walter's a great guy, though. He really is. I love him. I first met Walter. I was doing, even before the Tribbles was written, it was like my first or second day visiting the Star Trek set. And they had told me there's this new character named Chekhov. Of course, I knew who all the other characters were. And I'm standing and chatting with this guy in a uniform, and finally he asks, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm writing a script." And I says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I play Chekhov." So, I was, oh, thank God, I finally get to meet you. Now I know, and now I have a better sense of the character I'm writing. So, and it was, but he spoke in English. He didn't have that Russian accent, so that's why I didn't recognize it.
Well, and just on David's behalf, David got the job, according to Sid and Marty, on Land of the Lost because Gene Roddenberry suggested him.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't they originally want Gene Roddenberry to...
Well, that's the way Sid tells it, that he had approached Gene Roddenberry, and Gene said, "No, I'm busy with something else. See if you can get this kid, David Gerrold." Yep. Now, I was over at Filmation. I was working on a script for a show called Tarzan, and they sent me over to meet Edgar Rice Burroughs Jr., who I'm trying to find a polite way to say behaved badly, and he was an ass. And which is a shame, because I admired the Tarzan books and the John Carter Mars books a lot, but he says, who do you think you are to rewrite the greatest writer in the English language? And I had enough sense not to say, I'm not trying to write Shakespeare. But I went back to Lou Scheimer and I said, I don't think I can do Tarzan anymore. All my enthusiasm is gone because of the way I was treated. And Joe Terratero, who was the NBC vice president, said, "Well, we have another show that we would like, Sid and Marty Krofft would like to talk to you about this show called Land of the Lost." And it was a choice between doing more animation with Filmation, which was a great place, and Sid and Marty Krofft, who I knew from, I had always wanted to see a show they had done called Les Poupées de Paris, and I had never seen it because I wasn't old enough when it was on. It was an adults only, there were like 10 million puppets doing the can-can. And I saw pictures of it and videos of it, but never got to see the show. But I said, "Oh, Sid and Marty Krofft, are you kidding?" "Yeah, I was there, just point me in the right direction." And Sid showed me, he had cut out pictures from books and he pasted it into a scrapbook. I don't know if he told you this. Yeah. And he shows me this and he tells me, and this is the Land of the Lost, but he had no story. He said, "Do you think you can do something with it?" And I said, yeah, we got to leave out the mystery man because that's too much like Tarzan and I'm not going to do a conflict of interest. And the giant bees are going to be a production problem, so no. But why don't we have a lost city and there's some lizard men living in the lost city, and that'll be a continuing threat. And he liked the idea. Wow. And that's where the Sleestak came from.
Wow.
That is absolutely awesome.
By the way, these are stories I've never heard before.
Neither me either.
Oh.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to put them all in the book.
Different perspective.
They'll be in the book if I ever finish writing the book. But I had to pause because, as some of you may know, there is some talk of a reboot, and I can't say anything I know about the reboot because I don't know anything at all. So we can't answer any questions about that because we don't know anything about it. But I put that aside because it's like I got to wait until I find out what's happening with the reboot.
Wow.
So.
Spoken like a true person under an NDA.
I'm not allowed to talk about my NDA.
Exactly.
Non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Well, they thank you.
Let me add something. We're told, here's Rick Marshall, and not a hard part to cast, but he's got his two kids with him. And this was going to be a casting problem for two problems. First of all, finding kids who can act, because Wesley was very young at the time, and Kathy was younger. And it's like, and then you have the rules of you can only work a child actor so many hours per day, and then you have to go take him to McDonald's. And so we were blessed because we got Wesley and we got Kathy. We got two really, really perfect actors for the parts.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. And we did go to McDonald's for lunch quite often, Phil, Paley, and myself, who was Chaka on Land of the Lost. He would go with his beard because he didn't want to get completely out of costume. So he would go with the glued beard all around his chin line. And I didn't want to take all my mic equipment off. So I would go with my mic cords like hanging out of my shirt for lunch. And that's how we would go to McDonald's. So they kind of looked at us in a very weird light.
Because Phil was 10 and you were 12, right? Yeah. And people have asked me how I got the job, and it's a Hollywood story, and Sid tells the story. I got him on videotape telling it many times. I went to a pool party at Sid Croft's house. I didn't know who he was. I just got into Hollywood. I was on Days of Our Lives playing Mike Horton, and a friend of mine, Bruce Ostrander, who ended up doing all of Sid's construction work at his beautiful house, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to this guy's house. You want to come swimming?" I said, "Sure." And there were like 5 of us. I thought it was going to be like a big pool party. And Sid was there. It was his house. And Sid's house was everything you would want it to be. It was like a Hobbit with fireplaces that were cattywampus and all sorts of incredible things, and foliage and 3 acres in the Hollywood Hills. And Sid and I talked we were laying by the pool, talked all day. And at the end, he hands me a card and he says, "This is a casting director. I want you to call her on Monday. I want you on my new show." And that's how I got the job.
Awesome. So for both of you, Wesley and Kathy, when you found out there were dinosaurs involved, was it like, "Ooh, yay, dinosaurs," or was it like, "Dinosaurs?
Oh, no.
Really?"
No.
What were your thoughts?
Well, the first couple episodes, we were for me, my memories are we were in the caves. We were in the caves, and we did that first episode with Walker Edmonston, who was actually Enoch, but he also played the Collie, the Confederate soldier. So I just remember being there. It was all so overwhelming. I had gone shopping and I got this outfit, then they strapped a backpack on me. I had all this dialogue with these new people that I had met. And it was just really a bizarre. So I hadn't even got to the whole dinosaur part yet. I didn't get into that until we started working on the chroma key wall. Then we were more introduced to that light up there. Everybody run this direction, and there's a dinosaur there.
The chroma key wall was the old green screen. And it was we had a huge, it was all, the half of the soundstage was painted blue, this chroma key blue, and the floor was all blue. And that's what Kathy's talking about.
Right. So yeah, that was like my introduction to
We were
dinosaurs.
blessed to get Walker Edmonston. I grew up watching Walker Edmonston playing Willie the Wolf on Channel 11.
Wow.
And so I never had a chance to meet him. I was so busy working on the scripts, I never got a chance to get over to the sets and say, "Whoa, Walker Edmonston, wow." So,
He was
but we
an
were blessed to
incredible
get
man.
we were blessed to get Walker. He was just did an incredible job, and I'm so glad we got
And
him.
he was the voice of Sigma the Sea Monster.
Yes, he was.
So, and when he was in that costume of Enoch, he was speaking, it was happening in real time. It wasn't dubbed.
No.
It was his mouth, the costume, he made the mouth move. And
The costumes were designed by, I believe, Mentor Hubner. Do you remember Mentor?
yeah, and Mike Westmore. Too,
And Mike Westmore, yeah.
from Star Trek.
Now, the thing about the sleeve stack design is I had a very clear idea. I said, they got to be scary. So we put them on boots that raise them up another foot. We get the tallest people, we get basketball players, and then we build up the headdress so that they're 9 feet tall. And because I had seen a thing with the eyes where you do the big round things and you put the mesh behind it and a light behind it so that the eyes look like insect eyes. And so I wrote all of this in the description. These are what the sleeve stack should look like.
Wow.
And Mentor and Mike and a couple other people were involved, just went to town and made this. So I walk on the set first time, and here's these 3 huge sleeve stacks. And so, oh shit, I described, they're scarier than I imagined.
Wow.
Well, and you guys, if you know the The trivia is Bill Laimbeer of the Detroit Pistons, the nastiest man in basketball, was a sleestack when he was in college.
Well, that's where he learned how to be the nastiest.
Exactly. And he's 7 feet tall in bare feet.
Yeah, yeah. So we had the tallest sleestack we could find. And the sleestack have become iconic. I did not realize how iconic until somebody pointed out there was a reference in an article in Time magazine that describes someone as being like a sleestack.
It's all over the place.
And then there was a graffiti. They finally caught him, but he was the most famous tagger in L.A., tagging Chaka. He had gotten from Land of Lost Chaka and there were articles, continuing articles in the LA Times about this tagger named Chaka. And I started cutting them out because I thought, this is very interesting. They finally caught up with him, and his penance was to erase graffiti all over.
But Sid Croft has a Sunday with Sid. It's a podcast, Instagram. And he got the Chaka, the guy that did it, as a guest, and Phil Paley, who played Chaka on the same show.
Oh, cool.
But the great lore about this guy, I mean, it was all over, everywhere. Just graffiti, Chaka, Chaka, Chaka. So the thing is, when he got arrested, he's in the elevator at the police station, and he tags Chaka in the police elevator.
And we didn't realize, when you work on a TV show and you think, it's one episode, one show, nobody's ever going to remember it, blah, 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 and like Tribbles. Nobody's ever remembers that, right? And I thought, we'll do our best and we'll have some fun with this show. The idea that a show is going to become iconic and you're going to be talking about it 50 years later, it's gobsmacking.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And guys, Shakespeare said it, the play's the thing. And again, we owe everything to David Gerrold.
We owe everything to our great writers. All I did was pick them out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Okay, I wrote a couple scripts, all right.
So, David, were there some stories, because the show, all the good shows end too soon, were there some ideas and storylines that you wanted to do that you didn't get to?
I have an outline called The Littlest Sleestack, and I wanted to do it. Joe Terratero said, no, we are not going to do this one, which disappointed me because it was Will and Holly find a sleestack egg and raise this little sleestack who hatches. And then, of course, the Salach, who was established in the episode The Hole, comes and says, we have to give our sleestack back. You have to give it back to us. And it had a kind of a dark ending. And I think that's why Joe didn't want to do it. But eventually he says, no, you can't do any episodes about baby sleestacks. All right.
I have never heard the pronunciation of Slach's name, Salach.
Salach. Yeah.
Salach.
I have never heard it said that way. So if that couple is in the audience that took Slach on there you are, on the cruise.
Now you know how to pronounce it.
It's Salach.
What Kathy's talking about is Kathy had an idea to create Salach was the only sleestack born every 100 years that could be in the sunlight and could speak. And so Kathy created a doll about this big with a friend of hers from Canada who sewed it, and it's been traveling the world. It has its own Facebook page, and it has gone to, I think so far, it's over almost 60,000 miles traveled. I don't know how many countries, and I think it's on its 36th person that has taken Salach on a journey. And we have a couple here that took it on a Star Trek cruise and had costumes for every day.
He even had pajamas.
Well, of course. Sleestack don't sleep in the nude.
He hibernated in his jammies.
They're very conservative.
They're very. Yeah.
Now, we have actually mentioned Phil a couple times, Phil Paley, who is Chaka, who's unfortunately not here. But that actually reminds me, I have a little gift here for Kathy.
Prizes.
She likes prizes.
Oh. Oh, this is funny.
By the way, I should mention, we should
funny.
mention, because she's too proud to mention herself, Kathy has written a wonderful book about her experiences on Land of the Lost. And get by their table in the corner of the dealer's room, and you have copies for sale?
I sold out.
You sold out.
But I am taking orders, and I will order them when I get home, and I will ship them out to you.
It's
so.
called Run, Holly, Run. She stole my line.
I did not.
Stole
it was
my
David's line.
Oh, I hate when you say that because you're so right. By the way, Kathy and I've always said Sid and Marty Krofft didn't just cast my TV family. They gave me a real life family. And I mean that with David Gerrold and I've been friends ever since. And he's an amazing man. And Kathy and I are like brother and sister. We actually are neighbors now, and we travel together. And there'll be a knock on my door, and I'll open the door, and there'll be a mocha freeze from Starbucks sitting there for me. So we genuinely have an incredible love affair. So this is my family.
Yeah, I feel the same way, yes. It's like,
Very nice.
One day in 1991, I thought, gee, I should have a kid of my own. I'm tired of, Wesley and Kathy running off without me. And I adopted a little boy. And it changed my life, but it made me appreciate you guys even more because I began to understand what parenting is. Because it was no longer theoretical, it was now real.
Right.
The Martian Child. You guys ever watched The Martian Child, the movie, or read David's book? It's about his son, Sean.
Right. The book is better.
But Kathy, again, what is the reason for Cheez-Its, Kathy?
Well, okay.
Yeah, please explain to people, why
okay,
I gave you a box of Cheez-Its.
Prior to working on Land of the Lost with Phil, we had done a Cheez-Its commercial together. I was about maybe 9, he was about 7, and it takes place on Alan Ladd's farm, his property in Los Angeles. And we're in a Volkswagen thing going around the little town that we were in, and we're singing this song about Cheez-Its, and he plays my little brother. And of course, I know, God, you just keep your own songs, and I will get to my song when I get to it. Anyway, we sing a song in the thing, and Wesley usually at these panels makes me sing it. So
And when Phil's here, I make Phil sing it.
I will sing it. And I've been screaming all day, so please be kind. I have no vocals hardly.
And I'll do Phil's part. I'll do me. So imagine they're in the back seat. Their parents are driving the white Volkswagen thing, and they're about this tall, and they're singing this song.
Okay. I like munching. Go ahead.
I like crunching.
We like eating Cheez-Its. Great cheese taste in every bite.
We like eating Cheez-Its.
So I like munching.
I like crunching.
We like sunshine Cheez-Its. I love the wild taste of cheese.
Hey, more Cheez-Its, please.
They're great crunching crackers.
I think Cheez-Its should be giving you those themselves for life. By the way, there is a microphone right here, so now
Yes.
is the time. Please show your love, ask questions, tell them how jealous you were that Holly got to ride a dinosaur and you didn't.
That was fun.
Please come on up.
Yes, please. One of the things that I found really amazing about Kathy's character is she was one of the first female role models for young girls where she wasn't like a wimp. She rescued the family, more than I did, and she became a true role model for young women. And we get people that come up to her table that say that all the time. In fact, she did a panel once with all the most famous superhero women you can imagine, from Wonder Woman, all the famous ones. And they asked Kathy to be on the panel. And she's going, why am I on the panel?
And they were all in their sexy, outfits. And here I got
Wait a minute, I missed that
cords. It was at Dragon Con.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Kathy was one of the guests, and they were saying, "Why?" She goes, "Why am I there?" And they kept saying, "Because when we were little kids, little girls, we watched you, and you were so brave, and you took control, and you became a leader, and we learned to be leaders."
On that, you can thank Dorothy Fontana and Joyce Perry and Margaret Arman and the other women writers, because we had conversations is that Holly cannot just be a lump. She has to be a hero in her own right.
Wow,
And
David.
so And that was one of the reasons we did that wonderful episode. Dorothy Fontana wrote
My
it called
favorite.
Elsewin.
My favorite.
It's one of my favorites too.
Elsewin.
And Dorothy turned it in, and I said, I could nitpick a couple of these lines, but I'm not going to rewrite Dorothy Fontana for anything. and Dorothy and she was my best friend in the entire world. I don't know anybody who knew as much about writing and production as she did. And she should have been the producer of Next Generation. And there was some, let's just say, institutional misogyny that Dorothy was qualified to do a lot better work than some of the people who got the jobs.
And you guys know the story. She went by DC Fontana for years because she couldn't get work as a male, as a woman.
Yeah.
As
A lot
she
of
had
women did that in the industry. So if you see some of those old movies or old TV shows and there are initials for the writer, it was a woman.
Wow. Anybody have a question?
Yeah, please. First up.
Hi, Wesley. Could you tell the story about how you almost became a member of the Partridge Family?
True. So, David.
Hold on, he's going to sing a song.
Really? I can sing.
No.
No. So, David Cassidy decided to leave the Partridge Family, and it was still in its height. And so ABC was really angry with him. And so they decided to write a script, and the script was that they were looking for a guy to become the next door neighbor, David's best friend, who had a single dad who'd marry Shirley. Mm-hmm. So I went to Bobby Sherman's house, Bobby who just passed away, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. You guys know the teen idol Bobby. Mm-hmm. And I recorded a song for ABC, and I went to ABC and I lip synced the song, because everything was lip synced back then, and I got the job. Well, David heard that I was going to be coming on to replace him and play his next door neighbor. He goes, I think I'll not go off to college. I think I'll stay with the Partridge Family. So I got canned before it started.
Oh.
I know. Back in the day, all of us knew each other. Like Sean Cassidy and Leif Garrett would come swimming in my house. We all knew each other. It was a smaller community back then, and we were all kind of friends. Kathy hung out with every child star you could imagine, right?
I had a lot of kids in the industry that were my friends. It was easier to hang out with them because they had the same knowing as I. Like my friends from regular public school, they didn't have jobs. They weren't contributors in their family. They didn't have this kind of scheduling that I had.
But who were some of the people you hung out with? It was Valerie Bertinelli.
Val, and there was a kid that you may not be familiar with, but it was somebody who worked more than any other child actor ever in the industry. His name was Moosey Dreyer. You may know him. He played John Denver's son in Oh God. Mm-hmm. He was on Laugh-In. He did movies with Jack Lemmon, and I mean, he just worked all the time. But anyway, he was one of my first friends that I ever met when I moved to California. And just all the, from the Partridge Family, Susan Crowe, Danny Bonaducci, Brian Forster, just all these kids that
it was a little
were
kid
working
pack.
at the time. Brad Savage, Kim Richards, all those kids. As a matter of fact,
thank you.
Before I got Land of the Lost, I went on an audition for a show called Run, Joe, Run, which ironically wound up airing right before Land of the Lost aired on NBC when we first started the show. And a week beforehand, I had gone on this audition for Run, Joe, Run, just for one episode. And like 150 girls went out for this job. And it got down to two of us, and it was myself and Christy McNichol. And I didn't get it. Christy got it. And I was so bummed because it was a show with a German Shepherd in it, and I really wanted to work with the dog. And had I got that one episode where I would have just been shooting for one day, it was shooting on the Monday, and Monday was the day of the audition for Land of the Lost, and I would have missed that. And all these years, all these 50 years that have gone by, I wouldn't have been a part of and not had all this joy, So, God works in mysterious ways, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, Christy McNichol wasn't available to us on Land of the Lost, so you got her part.
There you go.
It's amazing.
Okay. Do you know if The Land of the Lost is available on DVD?
It is. All 3 seasons.
And there was a special set that was in a Land of the Lost lunchbox. I have that.
That was when the movie came out in 2008 with Will Ferrell.
Okay, that's when they gave you the special lunchbox?
Yes.
I'm not giving mine up, no.
But it's free on Tubi now. It's airing on, I think, 5 different services. I think Cineverse and Tubi, and there's a couple of other ones that you can watch it on. But
I
Tubi's
think-
totally free.
I think if you look on Amazon, you can still find all 3 seasons available on DVD.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We were very lucky. We had Gene Warren Jr., who I had met previously, had done the stop-motion animation for The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm, which was one of the first Cinerama movies. And they said, for your dinosaurs, we're going to have Gene Warren Studios do the dinosaurs. And I was very excited because stop-motion dinosaurs would be much more believable, much more fun. And so I went over there and met Gene Warren Jr., who was going to do the animation with a whole bunch of a really talented crew. I saw the miniatures for the Lost City and the other some of the other sets that we used, and it was great fun seeing the dinosaur models and whatever. And then, of course, they have the hand puppet for the close-up of Grumpy roaring at the cave. So,
And a couple of years ago, American Pickers, did you guys see that episode? Where it was the first episode of American Pickers, those 2 guys that go around looking for, things. And they went and they had the guys had the armature
right.
of I think of Grumpy and stuff. The rubber had all fallen off, but they still had those, and they were showing them.
Yeah, those were fun.
His sons had them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gene's sons.
Excellent. Next question, please.
Hi, my name's
Hi.
Richard. I talked to you earlier today.
Hi, Richard.
My wife Martha was the one that put the presentation together for you guys. We loved it.
And now I see who you are.
These are the guys that took Slatch, the
Salach.
doll, Slatch, on the journey on the
Cruise.
Star Trek cruise.
He'll always be Slatch to us.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. And they presented us with the most amazing book. If you come by our table, we'll show you. It's the most of photos from the cruises, and they had brought the costumes they made, and it was thank you for all the extra effort.
No problem. The question I have is when they went from the father to the uncle, I understand why. Do you want to explain it to the people behind us and why they switched out the 2 head people?
That was the Kelvin timeline.
All right. Thank you. And by the way, thank you. My wife loves the show. I grew up with it.
Thank you.
Watching it every single day.
But
Thank you.
You guys are a joy.
You are,
really.
you guys. But basically, Spencer wanted merchandising for all of us to get a small piece, and he battled with the Crofts and finally left. So I had to go back in the studio
Oh, here we go.
and re-record the theme song,
Here-
right? Because we have Kathy, help me on this one. You ready?
Yeah.
So I went back in and
I'm watching him take out his.
I know, yeah. Go ahead, remove your ear. Yeah. Oh gosh, I hate him.
Okay, Wes.
Get off my lawn. And so it was.
Will and Holly
wait,
Marshall.
here we go. Will and Holly Marshall, as the earth beneath them trembled,
Lost their father through the door of time.
Uncle Jack was searching and found the kids at last, looking for a way to escape from the land of the lost, from the land of the lost. And then Grumpy the dinosaur goes, roar.
I love the roars from out here in the audience.
But can I just
don't
say-
worry, this is not the last song you'll hear, by the way. We will finish up with
He
the
has a
song.
whole repertoire.
Can I just say something? You forget how great of an actress Kathy was, and I mean this sincerely. The first episode of the 3rd season, when we lost our dad, if you watch it and watch Kathy's performance, I saw it not too long ago, and I started to cry because her performance was so real. It was unbelievable. You were amazing.
Aftershock, that episode,
Was
Aftershock.
that the first episode?
Yeah.
It was amazing.
We saw it because they played it at San Diego Comic-Con, and I remember seeing it, and they had a big screen in the room that we were doing our panel, and I started crying, and I thought, that is so odd to have footage of me at that age having an emotion like that, We all lost our bikes or, our dogs ran away, and we all had these emotions, but I actually am having that emotion, and somebody has it on film, and it was just really
You were
really
amazing. You
a
were.
trip to
I mean,
see that.
it was real because you were losing Spence.
Yeah.
And you had spent all
Right.
that time with Spence. And Spence was a really good guy. I mean,
And he apologized to us
Fabulous
profusely, time and again, because we all remained friends with him. And he said, "I am sorry I abandoned you guys."
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Next question, please. Try to top that.
Hi, my name is Mojo. David, I have a question. The Pylons and the crystals are still two of my favorite sci-fi concepts. They were such brilliant ideas with kind of limitless possibilities. Can you talk a little bit about their development and if you had any ideas, things you were going to do with them that never materialized?
Well, let's see. At the time, I had gotten my first computer and I was learning software programming. And since you know, the Land of the Lost is a way station between worlds that has broken down, so that you would go through a portal and you'd arrive at the Land of the Lost, and you'd go through another portal and you'd get to where you were going. That was how I always, but it was broken. And so the pylons were some of the controls, and the crystals were if you touched the right crystals or turned them or whatever. But you had to know the programming. And of course, the Marshall family didn't, so they were always experimenting. And one of the things I wanted to do is that further experiments with try to restore the stability of the Land of the Lost would only make it worse, which is what I wanted to do if the show continued, if I had continued on the show. So the pylons were, and I had not seen any episodes of Doctor Who at the time, but the pylons were bigger on the inside. Partly because the outside was this thing that we could cobble together on a very, very low budget, and the inside was all in, against a black velvet background. So the implication there was that it was very big on the inside, because we would have to have the whole family around the table with the crystals, and yet you'd look at the pylon from the outside and say, wait a minute. So that was something that was just okay, well, they're bigger on the inside. So, but the pylons were an access to being able to tell some more science fiction stories. And so I didn't want to get too crazy with the pylons. I didn't want to turn them into magic. I want there to be some logic behind them. And we did have some logic that the red crystals did one thing and the green did another. And for heaven's sake, don't touch the black ones.
And
Wow.
don't put them together.
Oh,
Right.
no, oh, no.
That's that Spencer. Oh.
Yeah, don't cross the beams
You know,
either.
David, you created like the Pakuni language, which I think was one of the first times in sci-fi that I remember that another species, an alien species, had its own dictionary.
Well, what happened was we had notes on and they said, we should get a linguist in here. And they went over to UCLA and found this linguist named Victoria Fromkin, and she created the Pakuni language. And I was just looking at the dictionary a while back, last week, in fact, and she had done, I actually have her notes, scanned them in, and her notes were about the grammatical structure of the language, and then all the different words, but all the different modifiers. So it's Paku is an individual, but Pakuni, because you had the ni to the end, is the whole race. It's a mini Paku.
Right. Wow.
And so, and then she said they can't pronounce H or L. Great, we have Will and Holly. So, and Sleestack. So we had Wira and Ari and Sarisataka.
Right.
And so that.
Marashara was our last name.
Yeah.
Marashara.
Yeah, and so I had to. Well, how do we know we're calling them Sleestack? If Chaka's calling them Sarisataka, do you mean Sleestack? No. So that's why there's an episode where they go to the Lost City and see this written on the "Beware of Sleestack." So I could get back to the word Sleestack. It would save you from all of you having to learn Sarisataka in the Pakuni language.
And Phil was amazing. I mean, remember, Phil's the youngest black belt in karate. He's 10 years old, and in some of the episodes, he speaks a lot of Pakuni.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And he had to learn it verbatim. I mean, he was not making this up. Like Oganza Bisasa, big magic, Yeba ota.
Yeah, every line for him had to be translated. Yep. And so ota meant fire, and osu meant water, something like that.
Yeah.
And Phil had to learn. And the Paku dictionary has something like 80, 90, 100 different words. And plus modifiers. When you put them all together, there's like maybe 1,000 different combinations to learn, but you can actually speak Pakuni. Wow. But I was putting together a complete document of the Paku language because it might be needed in the future.
So when Phil fills out an application, other language he can put Pakuni.
Exactly.
I think we do have another question. Do we have another question? Please
Hi,
come on up.
Oh my gosh, I'm breaking your thing. Hi, I had a question on the episode where, Kathy, you were in the pylon that kept switching locations in different places. And there was one stop where it said, Holly, don't. And I was just wondering, like, who actually did write that warning?
I don't know.
I believe you could find that information on the internet. There's a couple websites that list all the actors and directors and episode titles for all 3 seasons.
Okay, I didn't know.
Do you know what it represented when it said Holly don't? Like, who was there that was warning me? Well, it could have been the same guy who wrote Beware a Sleestack.
Could be. That was...
There was a tagger in the Land of the
Lost. It
Lost.
was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
no, the guy that wrote it was the guy that couldn't get out. He died, and then we found the skeleton.
It was the apparently a Revolutionary
Right.
War crew fell into the Land of the Lost, but we also had a Civil War veteran who had. Oh yeah, let me share this with you. The original script was a Western cowboy, and he had a gun, and Joe Terratero said no guns on Saturday morning TV. So, and Larry Niven didn't want to rewrite it, and I agreed with him. So I did the rewrite and changed it into a Civil War veteran who had a giant cannon. Well, Walker Edmonston played the part, and Joe Terratero, when he turned in the script, he had to approve it because there's no guns. But he looks at me and says, "I know what you did there." Yeah, and what's your point? You said no guns.
And that same soldier winds up in Medusa's graveyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, listen.
The goal was you couldn't do anything that a kid could imitate, anything harmful.
Right. And Sid was asked recently, we've done some panels, he said, why were the Sleestacks so slow? And Sid said, because everything that's scary moves slowly.
Well, also because if the Sleestack caught the kids, then we'd have had a different show. It's like the Sleestack cookbook is not one we wanted to write.
Wow. Though I will say, I did have a cannon, so I could have, actually done something that I saw on Saturday morning TV and shot a cannon. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
But he was just petting her. He was petting his cannon and like hugging her.
Which is why mine is polished very well.
I had a beautiful little replica of that cannon, and when we moved, it got broken. We moved to Vermont, and I was so unhappy because to me that was Land of the Lost, that little cannon.
Wow.
So did we have another question? Did I see someone come up?
It's not really a question, but I just wanted to say you were my dream man when I was little.
Oh, you mean David Gerrold, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Holly, I
Thank
think
you.
you owe him a nickel.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Kathy and I thank you very much, and Kathy and I keep a nickel on our, usually we're sitting side by side. We're kind of separated at the show. But when somebody comes up to Kathy and goes, I had the biggest crush on you, I just slide the nickel over to her. Because if I had a nickel for every time, and somebody will come up.
2 minutes later, I'm sliding the nickel back.
Well, thank you guys so much for spending this time with us. I think this is a last call, we have time for like one more quick question.
First of all, guys,
Going
thank
once.
you for all your questions.
Thank you so much
You
for
have
coming
been,
and
this has
giving
been
us
one of
a
the-
wonderful weekend.
This show is amazing. It's 45th anniversary. We've been treated like gold. I'm telling you, there's a reason why this show has survived for 45 years. And for us to be invited, we really don't take this lightly. It's an honor.
Oh, you guys are awesome. David, you might want to take out your hearing aids because
Is
I
he going
think
to sing again?
I think we need to end this in the only way that we can end
Thank
a
you.
Land of the Lost panel.
Oh, blessed quiet.
So, which is my favorite song, and of course, that you hardly ever hear it in the old days because they'd run a commercial or the promo. But Tenacious D, Jack Black, does a version of the opening and closing. If you go on YouTube, you'll love it. So here, if you know it, can you guys sing along? It's the closing theme song, and you ready?
Yeah, always.
When I look all around, I can't believe the things I've found. Now I need to find my way. I'm lost, I'm lost. Find me living in the land of the lost, 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 lost. Living in the land of the lost. Sid and Marty Croft Television Productions.
Big round of applause.
Thank you, guys.
Wesley Eure, Kathy Coleman, and David Gerrold.
Thank you. We'll see you at the table, guys.
Do I get to keep my Cheez-Its?
You get to keep the Cheez-Its, yes.
Thank you.
This is Mick Wingert, and you're watching Fandom Spotlight. Be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to have fun and follow your fandom.